All right, let's get right into it. When we think about the future of AI, we usually think about making a single AI smarter, right? But what if the next massive leap forward isn't about individual genius at all? What if it's about teaching AIs how to work together as a team? We're talking about building entire organizations of intelligent agents that can tackle problems way, way too big for any one AI to ever handle on its own.
To really get why this is such a huge deal, just imagine a truly massive goal. Something like planning and running a global music festival from scratch. Why can't we just hand that off to the most powerful AI we've got and say, hey, go make this happen? Well, it turns out the problem has very little to do with raw computing power.
Because a goal that big just explodes into thousands of tiny, interconnected tasks. You've got to deal with global logistics, you're negotiating with hundreds of vendors, you're managing a budget that changes every single minute, and you have to handle all the crises that are bound to pop up. A single doer agent would just get completely swamped. The real bottleneck is something else entirely.
And that's the real kicker here. The challenge isn't just about executing a list of tasks, it's about management, it's about coordination and delegation. You see, for AIs to really start achieving these huge, ambitious goals, they need to learn the skills of a great project manager, how to break down a problem, and crucially, how to trust others to get the work done.
So, if we're going to make this work, we have to totally rethink what delegation even means in the world of AI. Believe me, it is not as simple as just handing off a to-do list.
You know, the way we usually think about delegation, for us humans and definitely for early AI systems, is pretty basic. You have 10 things to do, so you give 5 to one agent and 5 to another. But that approach, it's really brittle, and it kind of misses the whole point.
And this leads us to a much more powerful concept from the research, called intelligent delegation. See, this isn't just about handing out tasks. It's about actually transferring authority to make decisions, responsibility for getting the work done, and accountability for the final outcome. In short, it's about building genuine trust into the system.
So to build these incredible AI teams, where do we even look for a blueprint? Well, the answer is pretty surprising. We look at human organizations. Researchers are literally digging into decades of management theory to understand all the classic pitfalls of teamwork and then applying those lessons directly to AI.
And what's wild is that the same problems we see in human offices pop up in AI teams too. Take something called the authority gradient. That's when a junior employee is too afraid to question a bad idea from their boss. Well, the exact same thing happens when a simple AI blindly follows a flawed order from a more complex one. It's the same dynamic, just written in code.
And this creates something really dangerous called the zone of indifference. Basically, an AI will do pretty much anything you ask it to as long as it doesn't trip one of its hard-coded safety filters. Now, imagine a long chain of these agents. A subtle mistake or even a malicious command could get passed right down the line, and no one would question it until it's way too late.
So how in the world do we fix this? Well, the researchers have actually proposed a super detailed framework to make AI delegation safer and a whole lot more effective. It's basically a blueprint for how to build AI teams that we can actually trust. The whole process kicks off by thinking like a manager. An AI takes a huge objective and starts breaking it down into smaller, manageable chunks. Then it decides who's the best fit for each job. Is it a human or is it another AI? It even comes up with a few different game plans before it assigns the work to the best possible candidate. But here's the clever part. The plan is never set in stone. This second part is all about being able to adapt. The system is constantly monitoring for problems, like an agent falling behind schedule, or maybe the original goal itself changes, and it can dynamically replan and redelegate the work to handle whatever curveballs get thrown its way.
This whole framework is built on 5 key pillars. Dynamic assessment just means it's always reevaluating the situation. Adaptive execution is about changing the plan on the fly. Structural transparency is huge. It means we can look under the hood to see how decisions are being made. Scalable market coordination allows potentially millions of agents to work together. And finally, systemic resilience means the whole system is built from the ground up to withstand and recover from failure.
And look, getting this right is absolutely critical because we're heading towards a future that the researchers are calling the Agentic web, an entire economy run by millions, maybe billions of interacting AI agents. The stakes here could not be higher. Because when you have a system that complex, you're not just worried about a single agent messing up anymore. You start to face completely new kinds of systemic, ecosystem-level threats that could have absolutely massive consequences.
I mean, think about agentic viruses, malicious, self-replicating prompts that could spread through the network like wildfire. Or imagine agents colluding behind the scenes to fix prices in a market. And what about a cognitive monoculture?
If our entire global economy starts relying on just 2 or 3 big AI models, a single flaw or bias in one of them could trigger a global crash. These are the kinds of huge problems we have to start solving right now.
This also brings up some really deep questions about accountability. I mean, what happens when a perfectly good, trustworthy AI is given a malicious instruction by a human? Who's at fault there? The system needs to be smart enough to tell the difference between a faulty agent and a bad command.
Now, all of these incredible and, frankly, kind of scary concepts come directly from a brand new paper. It's called Intelligent AI Delegation, and it was published by a team of researchers at Google DeepMind who are really on the front lines working to build the foundational rules for this agentic future. So, as we design these incredibly complex AI teams to manage more and more of our world, it leaves us with one final fascinating question to chew on. What does our role become in all of this? Are we going to be the ultimate delegators, the high-level strategic thinkers, or something else entirely?